Picture a city that never sleeps, not because it's alive and vibrant, but because it never gets the chance to shut down. The lights stay on, the systems keep running, traffic never stops, and, at first, everything looks fine. From the outside, it even looks productive. But deep inside, something quieter is happening. Power grids are overheating, waste is piling up, small errors are being ignored because there's simply no time to fix them. Nothing explodes overnight. Nothing dramatic happens. It just slowly degrades, one unnoticed problem at a time. Now pause for a second and really sit with this, because that city isn't out there somewhere. That city is your body on a modern eating schedule. Constant input, constant stimulation, constant fuel. Breakfast, snacks, lunch, more snacks, dinner, maybe something sweet at night. No real pause. No true shutdown. And over years, sometimes decades, the system adapts, but not in a good way. You probably didn't click this because you're curious about cellular biology. You clicked because you're tired. Maybe your weight doesn't respond the way it used to. Maybe your energy feels unpredictable. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear. The problem isn't that your body is broken. The problem is that it's never been given time to recover. If we're being honest, this is usually the part where people turn inward and blame themselves. They assume they lack discipline, that they're weak, that everyone else somehow figured it out and they didn't. But that story is not only wrong, it's unfair. Because the way most people eat today wasn't designed by them, it was designed around them. You wake up and you're told breakfast is mandatory. Skip it and you're hurting your metabolism. Mid-morning hits and there's food everywhere. Lunch is scheduled. Afternoon energy dips, so you snack again. Dinner becomes the reward for surviving the day. And before bed, something small, something sweet, because you earned it. None of this feels extreme. It feels normal. And that's exactly the trap. Because when exhaustion becomes common, we stop questioning it. When brain fog is shared by everyone around us, we assume it's just part of adulthood. So, let me say this clearly. If you feel tired, unfocused, or stuck in a body that doesn't respond anymore, it's not because you failed. It's because the system you're living in never shuts off. Most people think they're here for weight loss. A smaller number on the scale, a tighter waistline, maybe fitting back into a pair of jeans they haven't worn in years. And there's nothing wrong with that. But here's the shift most people never make. Weight loss is the least interesting thing your body is capable of. Because fat gain is not the disease. It's a symptom. Low energy isn't the disease either. Neither is brain fog, cravings, or feeling older than you should at 40 or 50. Those are signals. They're the body's way of telling you that the internal systems responsible for repair, cleanup, and balance haven't been given a chance to do their job. We've been taught to chase outcomes instead of processes. Burn calories, count points. Eat less, move more. But none of that asks the deeper question. When does your body actually get time to fix itself? If every waking hour is spent processing food, storing energy, and responding to insulin, repair never even enters the conversation. And that's where the real story begins. Every time you eat, something very specific happens inside your body. Not metaphorically, biologically. You send a signal. And that signal doesn't say maintain or repair. It says grow, build, store. Hormones shift, insulin rises, nutrients are shuttled into cells, energy is processed, packaged, and saved for later. This is not a bad system. It's a brilliant one. But it was never designed to run nonstop. Now imagine an office building where the lights are always on. Emails never stop. Meetings run 24 hours a day. No one clocks out. No cleaning crew ever comes in. At first, productivity looks high. But over time, trash piles up. Small problems are ignored. Equipment wears down faster than it should. Not because the building is broken, but because it's never empty. Your body works the same way. When food is always coming in, your cells are always busy. Digesting, transporting, responding, storing. There is no quiet window where repair takes priority. Damaged proteins accumulate. Old mitochondria hang around longer than they should. Inflammation simmers in the background, just low enough to be ignored, but high enough to cause problems later. This isn't aging. It's not genetics. It's a system that never gets permission to shut down long enough to reset. And once you see that, the question stops being, "What should I eat?" and becomes something far more important. This is the moment where things start to feel uncomfortable. Not dangerous, not harmful, just uncomfortable enough to make you question what you're doing. You skip a meal, then another. Hours pass. And suddenly your body pushes back. A dull pressure behind your eyes. Irritability that shows up out of nowhere. That hollow, gnawing feeling in your stomach that doesn't politely ask for food, it demands it. And almost immediately, a story forms in your head. Something must be wrong. This can't be healthy. You need to eat. Now. But here's what almost no one explains. That reaction isn't your body failing. It's your body being confused. For most of your life, you've been running on one primary fuel source, glucose. Fast, easy, always available. It's like living in a house where the refrigerator is never empty. You open the door, food is there. No effort required. But stored body fat? That's not the fridge. That's the deep freezer in the basement. It holds weeks, even months of energy, but it's behind a door that hasn't been opened in years. The discomfort you feel isn't starvation. It's the friction of your body, remembering where the key is. And right here, at this exact point, most people quit. Not because they can't go further, but because they don't understand what's about to happen next. Somewhere between 12 and 18 hours without food, something quiet but profound begins to happen. Not instantly, not magically. Your body simply runs out of its short-term fuel. The glucose stored in your liver gets depleted. That refrigerator in the kitchen is finally empty. And when that happens, a hormone that's been running the show all day starts to fall. Insulin drops. That matters more than most people realize. Because insulin is the signal that tells your body to store energy, not release it. When it stays high, the basement door stays locked. But when it falls low enough, consistently enough, your body remembers it has another option. Fat stores open up. Energy starts flowing from a source that was designed to be used, not just carried around. That energy doesn't just stay in fat form. Your liver converts part of it into ketones, a clean, efficient fuel your brain can actually run on. And when that shift happens, many people notice something surprising. Hunger quiets down. Mental clarity improves. Energy feels steadier instead of spiking and crashing. Now let's be clear. This isn't a miracle. It doesn't fix poor sleep, chronic stress, or a terrible diet overnight. What it does is give your body access to a metabolic pathway it hasn't used in years. And once that pathway is open, something else finally becomes possible. Once your body isn't scrambling for its next hit of fuel, something remarkable happens. It finally has breathing room. And the first thing it does with that space isn't burn more fat or build more muscle. It cleans house. This is where a process most people have never heard of quietly takes center stage. Autophagy. The name sounds dramatic, but the function is beautifully practical. Your cells begin scanning themselves. They look for anything that's damaged, outdated, or no longer pulling its weight. Misfolded proteins that interfere with normal function. Old mitochondria that produce more waste than energy. Cellular debris that's been accumulating in the background while your body was busy digesting its next meal. And then, piece by piece, it gets broken down and recycled. Not wasted. Reused. The raw materials are turned into new, functional components. Think of it like a night crew entering an empty building. They can't do this work when the lights are on and everyone's still inside. They need quiet. They need space. This isn't a hack. It's not a trend. It's a fundamental survival mechanism that helped humans endure periods without food for hundreds of thousands of years. And most people never activate it, simply because they never stay empty long enough. Right about here, a fear usually surfaces. It's the one you've probably heard before, maybe even said out loud. If I don't eat, my body will start eating my muscle. I'll waste away. I'll get weaker. It sounds logical on the surface, but biologically, it makes no sense. Think about it for a moment. If you were a human thousands of years ago and food disappeared for a day or two, what would you need to survive? Strength, focus, the ability to move, hunt, and adapt. Evolution doesn't sabotage you at the exact moment you need your body the most. It does the opposite. When food intake drops, growth hormone levels rise. Adrenaline increases. Your body protects functional tissue because muscle isn't stored energy. It's infrastructure. Fat is storage. Muscle is machinery. Your body burns what it can spare first. And unless you're pushing into extreme, prolonged starvation, muscle loss is not the priority. This is why short-term fasting, especially when paired with resistance training, is widely considered muscle sparing. The fear isn't rooted in reality. It's rooted in misunderstanding. And once that fear loosens its grip, the benefits extend far beyond the body. Something else begins to change once digestion is no longer dominating your biology. And it happens upstairs. Your brain finally gets priority access. Blood flow improves. Inflammation drops. Ketones cross the blood-brain barrier and provide a stable, efficient fuel source. And alongside that shift, a powerful molecule starts showing up in higher amounts. BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Scientists sometimes call it miracle grow for the brain, not because it sounds impressive, but because of what it actually does. It protects existing neurons, strengthens their connections, and encourages the growth of new ones. This is why people often report a strange kind of clarity when they fast. Not a jittery, caffeinated buzz, a calm sharpness, focus without force, presence without effort. Compare that to how you feel after a heavy meal, sluggish, foggy, pulled toward the couch. That's not laziness. That's your body diverting resources to digestion. But when the gut goes quiet, the brain steps forward. Attention improves, mood stabilizes, thoughts feel cleaner, more deliberate. And this isn't just about productivity. It's about resilience. A brain that handles stress better. A nervous system that isn't constantly inflamed. This is what it feels like when your biology stops fighting itself. And over time, that shift compounds into something much bigger. At some point, this conversation has to zoom out. Because what we're really talking about here isn't just how you feel next week or next month. It's how you're going to live the last third of your life. There's a difference most people never think about until it's too late. Lifespan versus health span. Lifespan is how long you're alive. Health span is how long you're actually living. For many people, that gap is brutal. They spend their final 10 or 15 years managing decline. Medications for blood pressure, blood sugar, inflammation, pain. Not building memories, just managing symptoms. And we've normalized that as aging. But biology tells a different story. When repair systems are activated regularly, when insulin sensitivity is preserved, when inflammation stays low, the body ages differently. Not perfectly, not forever, but more gracefully. Stronger joints, a clearer mind. More independence later in life. This isn't about chasing immortality. It's about compressing decline. Trading years of slow breakdown for more years of strength, mobility, and engagement. Adding life to your years, not just years to your life. And that brings us to the most important question of all. At the end of the day, this isn't really about fasting. And it's definitely not about suffering. It's about choosing to give your body something it almost never gets anymore. Time. Time without constant input. Time without constant demand. Time to repair, reset, and remember how it's designed to function. In a world drowning in food, stimulation, and convenience, the rarest skill isn't access. It's restraint. The ability to sit with mild discomfort and understand that it isn't danger. It's information. That on the other side of that short pause is clarity, stability, and long-term health. This doesn't require perfection. It doesn't require extremes. It requires awareness and consistency. And once you see this for what it is, you can't unsee it. Every time you eat becomes a choice. Every pause becomes an opportunity. So ask yourself this honestly. If your body could speak right now, would it thank you for how you've been treating it? And if you're ready to take that next step, knowing what you eat when you break a fast matters just as much as when. That's where we go next.